This comment got over 1,000 likes on one of my videos. There's definitely a bit of irony in trying to charge $15 per month for a sugar water calculator in order to avoid expensive gels. So first of all, the price in this comment is just wrong. The fueling app I created is $6 per month or just over $3 per month on the yearly plan. But what hit me harder with that comment was the sugar water calculator part. Because as a physiotherapist and a coach, I spend a lot of time criticizing overpriced and overcomplicated sports marketing. So when someone framed my own app like that with over 1,000 people agreeing and hitting thumbs up on that comment, that gave me quite a lot of anxiety and self-doubt, to be honest. So let me show you what this thing actually does, and then I will tell you how that comment pushed me even deeper into rebuilding this whole endurance fueling app, and why it actually ended up on my office wall. Okay, let me just build a plan and show you here in the mobile app version. That is one of the things I spent way too much time on getting down in the last month. Here I can put in my personal settings to get a personalized fueling schedule. And let's say I'm doing a 2-hour 30 long run, 70 to 80% of max heart rate. And I'm going to say that I'm going to run in Bollnäs, the town I grew up in Sweden, and I picked tomorrow as the date. And it just pulled tomorrow's weather forecast for Bollnäs automatically to adjust fluid and sodium needs according to the actual weather. Okay, let's say I'm taking this run seriously and want to add a caffeine strategy. And for the carb fueling, I want to go with a homemade option for this instead of selecting one of the commercial products from the big database. So now in this DIY builder, I choose my ingredients. I can use regular table sugar, which is what I talked about in that last video. It's the cheapest version, perfectly effective, as I talked a lot about in that last video, if you want to check that out. But I can also use maltodextrin and fructose, which can be a bit easier on the stomach, and it's also the ingredients that most commercial drinks use. And it almost costs nothing. I skip the flavoring for this one. I find plain carbs on my run so often works better with my stomach. So here's what's come out. So you get the carbohydrate target, fluid target, sodium target, and all calculated from your personal settings and the actual session, race or training you're going to do, and the weather data, of course. And you get an exact recipe for your shoes and drinks scaled to me for in this case and this specific session. And a full timing schedule, when to start taking your fuel and exact timestamps of when to take what and how much. And for this homemade option, it also shows me that I save around $15 compared to using commercial sport drink for that run. If you want to try building your own custom fueling plans for your next session, there's a 7-day free trial linked below. But stay with me, because I want to tell you what actually led to this whole new version of the app and the complete rebuild. And some more cool things that I added to try to help all endurance athletes fuel better. And why that comment that I started this video with reading out pushed me even deeper down the rabbit hole of rebuilding this thing. The video that started all this had one simple idea. Sport nutrition products are expensive while the ingredients cost almost nothing and are really simple. And for endurance athletes, especially if you're training for a marathon, an ultra, triathlon, anything a bit longer, the cost stacks up fast if you actually want to use the modern high carb fueling approach. And what I wanted to show with that video is that the core of it isn't magic. You need fast carbohydrates, you need fluid, you need sodium, and that's what the studies and real evidence consistently shows. Get the right amounts at the right times, matched to your session and your body, and fueling can genuinely change how training and racing feels and how you perform. So I started building this app almost a year ago, originally just for myself and my athletes. Then after some requests on the topic, I released it to my Patreon and I got some good user feedback. And then that last video happened with 300,000 views in the first week, and suddenly a lot of people were using this app, sending feedback, and I could see both how much it was helping and the potential this app had, but I could also see exactly where it fell short and the places where it had huge rooms for improvements. So before I even saw that comment, I was already deep into rebuilding the whole thing. Some really late nights reading more studies, rethinking the whole logic, adding new features that has been in the back of my mind and something I've been wanting to build for months. And then while I was right in the middle of this whole rebuild, I checked the comment section on that video. And there that comment was with over 1,000 likes. And honestly, if I thought I was deep into the process of rebuilding this app, it made me go way deeper and spending probably way too many late nights obsessing over this rebuild and getting this app to where I actually dreamt of it being. Although that comment at first gave me a bunch of anxiety and got me thinking, yeah, this thing that I built, maybe it's just a simple overpriced sugar calculator. But I instead decided to try to use it as motivation. I printed out that comment and put it right above my desk, so I had it there all the time when I was working on taking this app to the next level. Look here, it's still there, and I put it on the wall because I think it describes the exact thing I never want this app to be. And having it right here while I'm building this is a great reminder and motivator for me. And let's talk a bit more about that comment. The overprice that the commentator said, as mentioned, is just wrong. But what I actually want to address is the sugar water calculator bit of it. Because I think that framing assumes that the problem being solved here is trivial. And look, that is true to some extent. It doesn't have to be complicated. And as I said in the last video, and will continue to say, although it's probably terrible marketing, you definitely don't need my fueling app to fuel your endurance training and racing well. I just built a tool to make it easier, to make it precise and track things, both when using your homemade options or commercial products. And if it's not for you, that's fine. And that's also why a big thing I wanted to add in this rebuild was the 7-day free trial. So you could actually try it for yourself and see if it's useful for you or not. As a coach, I have seen the difference nailing fueling makes for endurance athlete, and that the majority of even ambitious runners keep failing at this, leaving so much performance on the table just for not taking this seriously. And that's exactly what I built to fix, not to sell you something you don't need, to solve a problem that I kept seeing over and over again in the athletes I work with. So whoever wrote this comment, a huge thank you, because you motivated me to create something even better. So let me quickly tell you about some of the new cool things that I added during this rebuild. So I added a homemade yield mode, same logic as the drink builder, exact custom recipe for you and your run, and exact timing in the schedule as well. But for a lot of different variants of homemade yields. A lot of people wanted this, so I added it to help athletes save money on yields as well, not only sport drinks. I also built out gut training protocols, and this comes up constantly if you want to run on 90 grams of carbs or more, maybe up to 120 grams as some are doing on race day to get the most out of themselves in longer races. Your gut needs to be trained to handle those kind of amounts. And research shows it is highly trainable, so there's now a structured gut training log inside the app with progressive protocols you can take inspiration from and use to actually build that gut capacity to take in a lot of carbs over time. I also added a science hub. Every recommendation and logic you see here inside of the app is based on the studies and logic in this science hub. So for people who want to learn more, there's a lot of things to read here. And now there's also a bicarb protocol for people who want to experiment with that. I also added even more commercial products into the database for people who want that luxury fueling. I also spent a lot of time making the mobile app version much more optimized, as you saw in the beginning of this video. And as mentioned, there's now this 7-day free trial, because the only people I want paying for this app are people who tried it and found it genuinely useful. To everyone who's already using this, giving me so much feedback and helping shape this product to what it is now. Thank you, and seeing people actually feel better in training and racing because of this is why I keep working hard on it. And if you want to try it for free, you can click the link here. Train smart, have fun, and I will see you in the next video.